I just want to find out how dead on both of you were, like tremendous. Your skills were like totally, completely, and utterly there. And there's just allowing yourself to coach like this, you know what I mean, being that tuned in and just continuing to drill and expand whatever's present. And we have a tendency, for some reason, not to go after what's so obviously present right there. We make things more complex. Like we make our questions more complex, and we don't. Our first read is not where we go. Sometimes, you know.
Yeah, I think I think for me, I start thinking too much because I start thinking. I get very stuck in the structure of the coactive model, and instead of just really just relaxing into what comes naturally, what would emerge, you know, as a question.
Right. Yeah, and there's also just like, I said this to a client the other day, I said, my job is to take you and to expand you into your biggest self. That's all I'm here to do. So I'm going to do everything I can to just kind of mirror you back to you and call you out and like test you and like challenge you and in a way, all in ways that feel appropriate, you know, that feel like that's what's wanted. And so your tools will come over your shoulder as you're working on the car. Once again, you don't want to get your tools in front of you. We've talked about this before. It's like you can find a way to get like, oh, am I in fulfillment right now? And like all of a sudden you're like, you're not present with your clients anymore. You're not plugged into the energy that's, you know, wafting over there that you're just wanting, you want to mirror back and get curious about. It's all fairly simple. I mean, and it's much easier said than done, of course. But the goal is to just be with what you're experiencing with your client and be willing to say it and mirror it and push on it and pull on it and be wrong and right and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Easier said than done, I guess. I feel it rather abstractly, and so it's like, oh, it's really easy, but I guess it takes a while to just trust yourself that much and for it to be that easy or to be that simple, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just your both your skill level, your choice of words, your you know, what you've noticed, what stuck out to you was right on. Right on.
Great.
So yeah, my pleasure to do this every time if you want. Yeah, I think it's a very, very good idea, and it's the core really of your coaching is just what am I picking up on over there in either gauges 1, 2, or 3, and then how am I going to like mirror it back or deepen it or expand it? What's your level 1 experience about what I'm dealing with now or what's going on with me over here? What do you notice about you or what do you know about you from this session?
So are you referring to the whole session in the skills drill or
well, no, just me and your experience of your experience of yourself interacting in my world. So here's what I notice about you, and I hope you notice this about yourself, is you're very compassionate, giving people. You know, I mean, you may not be noticing that about yourselves, but I'm able to see like, wow, these are people that are very, very receptive, and they're tuned in, and they're listening, and they're interested, and there's a lot of compassion and willingness there. So do you notice any buttons that's being pushed for yourself as you're hearing it, or any wants that you have for me? That's another one. It's like, what are you wanting for me? And that's definitely your level 1 stuff. Here's what I want for you, client.
Yeah. I mean, my experience of you in this situation is, or my sense of what's going on with you or where you're at is basically that you're fine. You're fine. You've got a really healthy objectivity about it. You're striving towards real neutrality. You're honoring who you are. You're honoring your values, particularly around love. And this experience is just going to deepen who you are and your understanding of your world. That's my experience of what's happening with you and where you are with this.
Thank you. Yeah, sounds true. And so that isn't the question I asked, and it was a pleasure to hear that anyway. So what I'm asking is, what do you know about you when you interact in my world? Like just your level one.
What do I know about me?
Yes.
When I interact in your world?
Yes.
What I feel is like I feel inspired as far as similar situations in my life having to do with relatives. And, you just listening to you inspires me to be that higher person.
I just want to point out what an amazing acknowledgement that is. So your level one experience is an amazing acknowledgement for me. Okay, keep going, please.
Yeah, it really, that's it. Like, I just feel it's it's just inspiring. Just keeps coming up for me, because I have issues with my own, like, brother and sister-in-law, and, and it inspires me also. Like, I feel like you're taking these circumstances, this person in your life, and making them into a teacher for yourself, in order to evolve. And I think that's beautiful.
So, once again, how badass is that nice, Gavin? What a nice thing to tell the client. So your level one experience as the coach is, here's what's going on for me, is you're inspiring the shit out of me. I have relatives I'm dealing with that, that I struggle with, and your whole thing, client, over there is, like, just very inspiring the way you're handling this. Like, that's so cool that you're turning the situation into a teacher for you. Like, that's really inspiring. I want to do that. What do you notice about you, client? Whatever, and then you just go back over to the client again, and then you just go into their world. But it's an acknowledgement. It's kind of you're giving me more clarity about. Like, I never thought I was turning the situation into a teacher. Like, wow, that's a really cool way for me to. That's a really cool thing for me to know about me as your client. Know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just pointing. Yeah, what I'm doing is just pointing out the importance of the level one, because that's often what gets worked out in CTI. It's worked out of the picture, for good reason, by the way. But this is just bringing it back in, or integrating it back into the picture when it's appropriate.
And the thing I think I would have forgotten is, after the acknowledgement, I would have, how you said you took it back to the client again, and I think I would have forgotten to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's usually the trick, is like when you're going to go into level one or say anything about yourself as the coach and your experience of it, you need to get back over to the client fairly quickly.
Okay.
Gavin, any stuff you notice about yourself? And if you need to go, I don't want to limit you, because I know your time is limited, so I don't want if you need to run off.
It's okay. I've got a couple more minutes. Now that I understand the question, it's very similar to Mitra. It's just that I feel quite inspired by the way you're holding the situation. In that you can feel your emotion, you can feel your anger. You can be with the, you can be with the mixed feelings, and you can rise above it and create from it. So I feel really, really inspired by that.
Yeah, fantastic. Your skill level is so obvious. It's like, wow, that's cool.